Yeah. So hello everyone. This is a session on open source Git and GitHub. Okay. So, uh, like in our club, we have a lot of beginners to open source. So this session will help out those beginners to understand what is open source, what is Git, what is GitHub. So today's agenda will be talking about open source. We'll talk about version control. What is version control? We'll talk about what is Git and GitHub. Like how can we contribute to open source using the GitHub platform and understanding how GitHub works and the ethics in this open source society, and then all the open source events that are conducted by various organizations. Like one of the most popular you know event that is conducted is GSOC. Maybe you guys have heard of it. So yeah, that's also open source. Also, before moving ahead, if anyone of you can who can describe what's open source, like what's an open source software, to be specific, anyone?
It's in. You can be keep your mic on something. Maybe write in the chat whatever is feasible. Listen, we expect you to participate more.
So, as I understand what open source is, in a layman term, it could be any software for which the source code is, made freely available to the public. That's what I understand.
Very good, Aditya. Very good approach. Okay, anyone else?
Open source is defined for something whose the behind the logic of the thing is given to us, and we can modify it, change it, and make our contributions to it.
Hmm. Very good try. Okay, so anyone else? All right. So I think we should move forward. Okay, we'll discuss what is open source. So as Aditya and Arishita said, I guess I pronounced it right. Open source are the software which are like released to public for using, studying, or further distribution. All right. So you are, let's say you are like making a software and like you are ready to make people use it and study using that software, and you want people they use this your software as the basis of their software. So then you make it open source for the open public, then it is called the open source software. Okay, moving on ahead. If you guys know what is version control, anyone? Okay, yeah, Kiran, you raised your hand.
So, what is the difference between a freeware and an open source software? They both sound similar, very similar.
Pardon, can you speak that again?
What is the difference between a freeware and an open source software? Both sound very similar.
Okay, so a freeware and a open source, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so unlike open source software, freewares are like there is minimal freedom to the end user. You don't get everything, but with a open software you get everything, like the basic source code. You get like each and every line of code, but freeware doesn't support like every file. You just get a part of it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is freeware. All right. Anyone who can explain me what is version control? Okay, sorry for disturbance from my side. Anyone who wanna go for it?
Well, uh, version control, as I understand, in projects which are big in size and have multiple iterations and multiple users contributing to the project, it's a system which allows to keep a track of different versions of the project, or the components of the project. So if it's a code, then it maintains a version of the code as and when the project progresses.
Hmm. Very good attempt, Aditya. Anyone else? Yeah, Devanshi raised your hand.
So, if we take an example of, for example, an application, we know that if applications in turn might have later more versions of it. Like we have seen apps coming with 5.3.2 versions or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So I think that is basically what version control is, making, solving bugs, adding features to it. And if they are not on the stable version, that means it's not stable, so we can revert to it. So that's basically
yeah,
version
yeah,
control.
yeah. Very good attempt from your side as well. So, okay, now we'll study the theoretical definition. So, version control, also known as source control, like you guys have very well explained it. I don't think I have to explain it myself, but I'll still read the definition. Is the practice of tracking and managing changes to software code. Okay, so like you are coding onto some project and you have a version ready, and now like you want to add a feature, you just stop that version till like you name it 1.0.0 something like that. And whenever you like want to add a feature, you just rename it, make a copy of that file and rename it to 1.2 something or 2.0 something, and you just make upgrades to it, as Devansh said. Thanks for that, Devansh. um, so version control systems are basically the software tools that help the software teams manage, changes to their source code over time. Okay, so here we are introduced to the concept of version control systems, right? What is a version control system? It is basically, a software that like helps software teams or an individual to, keep track of their codes over time. Okay, here you can see like how, it works in teams. Like there's a mainline software, there's a main code, and there are multiple releases. See here, the circle represents release 2.3. The circle represents that the code just, ended there. This one, this 2.31, and this also ended there, but release 2.4 is still like going on. Okay, uh, talking about the most popular software for version control is Git. So here we stand on a point, like we know what is version control, we know what is open source. Now it's time to discuss what is Git and GitHub. Anyone who can like explain me what is Git and GitHub?
Basically, Git is used to track and manage the changes that we make in the software. So it's a version control system. And GitHub is the cloud-based hosting service that helps you do that, implement the version of Git.
Very good attempt, Arishita. I'm like impressed with your answer. You're like, it's to the point. Yeah. Anyone else? Anyone else who would like to go for it? Okay, wait. I'll read the messages. Git actually helps group of people to work on a project. You're a bit wrong there because it's GitHub.
What I mean is like many people can work together and like the
Yeah.
concept of master branch and origin branch. I was talking with that perspective.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So it's GitHub that actually helps group of people to work on a project. For an individual or for an offline agency, it's Git. Okay, we'll talk about it. You're like very good at it. Okay, wait, there is a lot of disturbance at my end. I don't consider I live on roads. Okay, okay. So yeah, we'll move ahead with Git and GitHub. So what is Git and what is GitHub? Okay. Wait. Yeah. So Git is, mainly for, individual projects, like you are like making offline software like at your machine, and like you wanna like keep track of the files of the like basically do the version control, you use Git. It was first developed in 2005 and is installed on a maintained on local system. All right, and you can just there are a lot of features of version control. You can make branches and like we'll study afterwards. And then what is GitHub? GitHub is the same Git, but when it is like made available to public to collaborate on your project on the cloud, it's like called the GitHub. So GitHub is designed as a Git repository hosting service. So what is Git repository? Actually, repository only means a collection of files and folders. So its hosting service is provided by GitHub. GitHub is exclusively cloud-based, and you can share your code with others, giving them the power of make revisions or edits. Okay, so you give others, the collaborators, power to make changes to your code. So as a conclusion, GitHub is just Git with plus collaboration from other projects, other collaborators on cloud, over cloud, on the air. So that is basically GitHub. So what is the workflow of GitHub? All right, so I'll just wait. Yeah,
Abhinav, hi.
anyone? Yeah,
Actually, no, I had a question on the previous slide. So,
okay, all right.
since GitHub is the cloud-based service, so is
Mm-hmm.
there still usage of Git which is being done, and what is the cases where Git is used over GitHub, or because like I have also like I have a account on GitHub which I don't use. I mean, I explored it a bit, but uh, the difference I got to know today. But is Git still used? My basic question is Git still used, and in
Okay,
what
so
cases it's preferred over GitHub?
yeah, so there is these things like private and public repositories. Okay, so when you are like doing the private projects, also on you can do it online as well. But when you are doing it in your machine, you don't need to go to the cloud, right? But you still want the version control, the powers of version control. Then you use Git. See, you're developing on a branch like 1.2.1, and you develop another branch like 1.2.2, but you got some error, but you want to go back to 1.2.1. So then you use Git and you can just go back to your code there. So that's why we use Git offline, on offline basis.
It's more like
Even in that case, isn't it
Yeah.
better to use GitHub since I can still use it individually, GitHub, and also if I let's say happen to change my system or my machine, I can
Mhm.
still go to my account and access it. Versus Git, where I'm doing it locally,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have to get restricted to my
Yeah.
machine, right? So
Yeah. Okay. So in some machines, when you're like developing, on-chip machines, like when you're working on Raspberry Pis, you don't have access to internet all time, right? You still want the features of Git to work for you. That is like Git has its own uses.
so that means
yeah,
it can
Do
be
you get me,
used
Aditya?
on remote computer as well also. So Git is like remote control plus for online, right?
Uh, I
Yeah,
I have a
GitHub.
question. So
GitHub. Yep.
Git and GitHub is a platform basically, right? Do we use Python for the language, or it has its own language?
Okay.
So
You can use anything.
Oh,
so Git has
okay.
Git
So
is
we write the
basically sort of CMD in Windows and terminal in Linux. So it has
okay.
its own syntax of the keeping the system control with its own documentation online how to save it and everything. So it's not more like on which language it is, C, C++ or anything. I believe it's you can control. You can go to your CMD and make your control on the project
Yeah.
or whatever you are doing on
So in
by
whatever
using
language you are
sources.
doing your project, you can just use the version control system provided by Git, basically.
Yeah, I came in a little late. So version control I get from your what you said is basically making changes to the code to improve the software, right?
It can be
Yeah,
two
and like,
things.
huh,
Yeah, go.
yeah, go on, Devansh.
So it can be like maybe for an application you are either adding a feature or maybe resolving bugs or both. So if you are doing that in that your existing version, like you have your first prototype ready or something, and then you add it to it, and you see that you have a more unstable version of what you created before. The before one was better, so you have to keep a control of what versions you have. Like you might have to revert to the previous one or something. So that's version control.
Okay, okay, okay. And you can't do those in programming languages like Python. I haven't taken it, so
You
I
can
don't
do.
know about.
It's like a file explorer, right? It's not
Huh.
based on Python or anything. You have your Python
Okay,
modules, for instance.
okay,
So
okay,
you
Okay,
okay,
yeah,
have named one like main file dot one, and then you do
okay,
1.1 and then 1.2 or something.
okay, okay, okay. I get it. Okay. And open source is like the software which is available for free, right? That's what open
yeah,
source
that's a
is.
open source software. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, okay, okay. Thanks,
Okay.
thanks.
Okay, no. So now we'll understand what's the workflow of GitHub. Okay, so first of all, we are talking about GitHub, that is the cloud-based service. Okay, so you have one master branch like on which the coding is going on, and someone thinks that yeah, this feature should be added to the main branch. So what he does is he creates a branch, you know renames that branch on according to what feature he's adding. Let's say this is a Facebook application, like a posting application something, and he's adding a likes feature on the application. So he'll create a branch named likes, and this can be done by some other person collaborating on the same project. Yeah, and then he'll do some changes, save it, change, save it, and then he'll start a pull request. Okay, what is a pull request? Whenever someone starts a pull request on his branch, the people who are like maintaining the master branch will get a notification that this guy wants to merge his feature onto the master branch. So then they'll talk to him and they'll just improve the code, get their feedback, test the changes, and then they'll merge the branch. Okay, so if anyone has any doubt in this, and meanwhile, yeah, master branch can also have commits. These are called commits, that they save it, they do something and they save it, they do something, they save it, and meanwhile, like on the same time, the commits on the likes branch is also happening. Anyone who wants to ask something? Okay, all right.
Sorry, Abhinav. Yeah, I have a
Yeah,
question.
Aditya.
So when you say when the commits are happening,
Mhm.
uh, are the commits getting saved also? All those commits, and are those
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
versions which can be reverted to?
Yes, each commit can be reverted to. Like, see, I've worked till here, okay, and I think that there's some bug in my code. I can go back to this commit and then start working again, and then we'll merge branches. Okay, when I want to explain what merge branches. Okay, so the master branch code and the this likes branch will be added to the master branch. This things happens like the plus thingy. Yeah, Aditya.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how does GitHub tag these commits? For example, if I have to see which commit is a previous version and which one is a successive version,
Okay,
what
so
is there a default naming convention which is
yeah,
followed by GitHub?
there is. Okay, wait. I'll just move to the next slide and you'll get to know it. Okay.
Okay.
I just have a question. Like,
Yeah.
we create branches for other collaborators. That's why you use branches, or for
Uh,
we can use it for
Collaborators.
multiple things.
Okay, collaborators can do the changes on the master branch. Okay, if someone want to be a collaborator, they just create a branch. Get me?
Okay, so branches are for collaborators, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this is my next slide. So this is some complex workflows from my repositories. Okay, so here you can see, this graph thingy. You know how a software like is made. You know, these are multiple commits, these dots, and this here you can see this is the commit ID. You know, these numbers. You just identify each commit through these numbers, these ones, and these are the branches. And whenever they try to merge, like here, see merge pull request 11 from Yog Panchal. So this is something like the workflow is something like this. And this is like a simpler one I made for you guys. This is a Discord bot project. Will, if you are signed into coding team, we'll just go through it. I'll explain to you what this does. Any queries?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So we talked about why to use GitHub. Okay, what is the thingy? What is that thing like which you know makes us not makes copy of folders and use GitHub instead? So these are pull requests. I just explained like what it is. The pull request is a method of submitting contributions to an open development project. And what is issues? So issues is some different thing. Let's say you're working on a project and you come over issue on that project. You just raise yeah, I have this issue, and the collaborators will look on it. It is basically a tracking tool that you'll track this. Uh, if you are having any issues, and the collaborators will try to resolve it, and then they'll mail you that yeah, your issue has been resolved, and it looks something like this. Okay. uh, I guess we are almost to the end. Yeah. So since this is all open source, you don't have to like follow so many rules, but still there are some ethics that you have to follow while doing the open source contributions. So yeah, you can just read it. When a community is built on common goals and a vision which is shared by the contributors, then personal beliefs are enforced by individual personal ethics and held strongly voluntarily. Open source provides a certain freedom. See, I said now ki open source, you can just copy the software, right? So there is a little freedom, but still there are some, boundaries that you can't cross. The idea that each volunteer is responsible for their own actions brings with it a sense of personal empowerment, but also a sense of self-governing. Okay, so whenever you are like, this line is so important. Whenever you are like contributing to a public repository, each volunteer is responsible for their own actions. So every commit or every branch, like merge with the master branch, you get like a personal empowerment, but also you get like a self-governing thing on that master branch. So that should not be there because that's bad for community. Okay, any questions in ethics?
So it is like when we are working on open source, we should follow some. If we are even doing something like copying someone's work or something, we should do it ethically.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so at the end we have some events. There are a lot of events, but these are the big ones. Okay, first of all is Google Summer of Code. So when you do the open source contributions, there are companies enrolling into Google Summer of Code that they want some, they're not interns. Basically, there are people who want to contribute to the open source softwares. There's Mozilla, there's VLC. So if you want to join Google Summer of Code, you just contribute to their repositories, and once they enroll in GSOC, you just say, yeah, I have contributed to your repository and I want to work with you. So they'll just pick you up from there. So that is Google Summer of Code. Okay, another popular event is Hacktoberfest and Open Source India. What they do is, each year in every year in October, there is a contest. Like you have to make a branch. You don't have to make a branch. You have to commit to the master branch. Like, and your commit should be legible. A big, 48 days left for Oktoberfest. Yeah, a big change. And when contributor get when a the contributor gets impressed by your changes, they'll just pull it to their master branch, and you'll get a reward for it. So there is a certain number of pull requests that you have to do. I guess it was 4 for the last year. So when you do it, you just get Hacktoberfest goodies. Also, for more context, you can go to this link. Yeah.
My Hacktoberfest shirt is right behind me, by the way.
Hacktoberfest shirt is like in Almira, 2 kilometers away. Just kidding.
Nice.
Okay, so anyone has any like want to ask something?
Yeah, I have a question. So these are what people call open source projects. Like you contribute here, and this is how you gain experience.
Yeah, these are events, but you contribute to projects like VLC or Mozilla. There are a lot of open source
Huh.
projects, right? You just contribute to them, and
Okay.
those companies then pick you up, when they want to like develop something in their software,
Uh,
because they know
so
that you have already
uh,
contributed to the software.
okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
you can
And
think of them like drives, for promoting like open source.
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And I have like, what is the difference between say CMD and Python? Like those are, Python is a programming language. I know. What is the difference between Python and CMD? Like, is there a difference between those two?
Yeah, there is a difference. You can okay. CMD is like the interface between your windows. Like okay, think of it like a terminal, right? Python is a language. It's not exactly a terminal.
Okay.
You can run your Python commands in your terminal, but you can't really do CMD stuff in Python in your Python IDE.
Yeah, Python is like more of a programming language, while CMD is like provides you to uh, enter DOS commands and
Okay.
like
So it's
yeah.
like a interface. So is something similar used in GitHub?
Yes, it's used. It's called a Git Bash. Okay,
Okay.
so it's like a own language. You can use Git commands there. Like mainly, it's developed on Linux kernel, but yeah, it's
Okay.
integrated with Git commands.
Okay.
The
So
commands go like git clone,
Git
git
clone,
add.
Git commit, yeah, Git push.
okay. So is it easier or is it more difficult?
Okay, so if you're learning on Linux systems, it's easier because you are like familiar with Linux already. But if you're doing it on Windows, I would like suggest you to use Visual Studio Code because it's like already like integrated with open version control.
Yeah, and also there is update in Windows. There is a Linux subsystem, so you can
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
download that and you can get the Linux terminal, whichever
Mhm.
distro you're using.
Windows
Most of
subsystem for
the
Linux,
yeah, most of
WSL.
the popular distros are available there.
Okay.
Yeah, you can use Ubuntu, Kali, or
Yeah.
OpenBSD.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so I would like to end this with a 3-minute video. Okay, you will just get to know what about GitHub. Devansh, then we are ending this. Okay, then it is up to you. Okay,
Cool.
just give me 3 more minutes. Okay, tell me if you guys can see my screen.
Yeah, it is also.
Okay.
Okay, what is GitHub? Well, GitHub is a platform that helps people solve problems by building software together. So, how does it work? This is Sam. Sam works on tractors all day, but not in the way you might be thinking. She builds the software that helps make tractors more efficient. And she does this on GitHub with the help of her team, VJ, Melinda, and Mike. Now, even though they all work on the same project, Sam and her team don't all work in the same part of the world. This is Eddie. Eddie also works on tractors all day, except he actually works on the tractors all day. And this is the Harvester L700. It's the latest flagship in the company's fleet of tractors. It's full of sensors and processors that produce a ton of diagnostic data. Eddie has a great idea for how farmers might share their data and improve their harvests. So Eddie opens an issue on GitHub. Issues are discussion threads where people can report bugs, request features, or even just ask questions. Sam is the first one on her team to see Eddie's issue, and she thinks that VJ would be the best person to start the job. And here's where we get into the nuts and bolts. Eddie isn't the only person using the Harvester L700. All over the world, other tractors are collecting moisture data, and they need to keep running smoothly even while VJ is working on the new features. He needs a dedicated place to experiment, so none of his changes end up on the farm before they're ready. So he creates a branch of the code, an alternate timeline where he can safely make changes to the software. Now he's ready to start writing the new features. GitHub tracks VJ's changes and saves snapshots of his progress. When he's ready to collaborate on the changes with his team, he opens a pull request on GitHub. Pull requests let you show others the changes you're proposing so they can review and discuss them. This means VJ's teammates can help with roadblocks and even make improvements. On GitHub, everyone has a copy of the project. So if Melinda has an idea for something that will help make VJ's work even better, she can add it to the branch herself. GitHub keeps a record of everyone's contributions and feedback in the pull request, alongside relevant messages from the team's other systems. Once the team has signed off on the changes, VJ can incorporate the new code into the project. The new feature will be available to everyone as soon as he merges it in. Now farmers everywhere can all benefit from Eddie's great idea. But this is really only the beginning of the story. Because GitHub is the largest community of developers in the world, with millions of people sharing their projects, Eddie's idea could end up helping people in unimaginable ways. What kinds of problems are you trying to solve? Whether you're an engineer, a code enthusiast, or even a farmer trying to harvest grain, software touches every corner of our lives. GitHub is where people build that software. It's how they build software. Together.
That was good stuff, bro. Abhinav, you there? You can conclude the session.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm like okay, done with this Git and GitHub thingy. All right. So people who are like interested in this, there'll be more sessions on this. But you guys have to show us the interest. Okay. So like we are the coding club, right, of the Pichabram, which is almost the biggest house of IIT Madras. So what we'll do is we'll just make a collaborative team, and I'll invite all of you guys there, and we'll do some collaborative projects. Okay. So before that, you need to know what is Git and how to use Git and how to use version control. I'll just make the tutorial videos available to you guys. Or if you have any queries, you can just directly contact me or any admin of the Pichabram coding club. Devansh, you wanna take this from here?
Yeah, I think I'll stop recording now.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys have any questions, you can ask Abhinav. And if we want to continue ahead on Git and GitHub tutorial, we can continue as well. Like we haven't touched, I guess, how to use Git and GitHub now. We know this,
Yeah,
right?
or even like actually making contributions to open
Yeah.
source per se.
Okay. Can I say something?
No. Yeah.
So to make the students accustomed with GitHub, we can make a small and easy project actually, where they can actually do this thing to get accustomed with it. Extremely easy project to showcase GitHub.
Subra, I'm already on it.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, Binoy has a question. Do we have to join GitHub using our IITM ID or our own Gmail?
Whatever things it is feasible, you can use your both personal or IITM as well.
Okay, so there are two things here. A, that if you use your IITM ID, you will probably get the student benefits, which are great, really great. But also remember to link your personal ID because you might lose access to them, into your IITM ID after a few years. So just remember to do that. If you're using your IITM ID, if you're using your personal ID, then that's not the question.
There, I have a
Yeah,
question.
yeah, Harsh, go on.
As you know, that we have done basics in Python. So, what can we do for mean next? Because I know this is not enough to get into a project or anything else. So, where we can get extra knowledge? What
Uh,
next we can do?
so for Harsh, I think for first thing you can do is basically in projects you can, since in all projects you might have a future, you might have to work on open source and GitHub and all. So first thing you can go is make your GitHub ID if it is not present. For everyone present here, you can all make Git and GitHub IDs. So next time if we are having a tutorial, we can work
I
on that.
have.
Acha, you already have. Cool, cool. For
Yes,
those who
so
don't have.
you can just go on GitHub and randomly, search for Python projects, and you'll be like presented with a lot of Python beginners to intermediate projects that yeah you can just get the idea there and just code it yourself. It'll be like increasing your experience, and also you'll be getting your profile built on GitHub.
You mean just study others' project from basic to top so that I can have experience on it?
Make it yourself.
Yeah.
Don't study
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
got it.
are a lot
programming.
of basic projects like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
calculator and stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do that.
Yeah, that thing.
You can also follow YouTube videos if you'd like to do that.
There are like two types of learning. One is like theoretical types where you go through YouTube videos or someone else, maybe something like that. And one is like hands-on learning where you are working on directly straight away on a project. So that's
Yeah.
Also, you can just enroll into our coding team. They're gonna just do something great really soon.
how much are you gonna promote a coding team over here? We have
Yeah,
5 times.
because you tend to learn a lot when you are doing the project, even if you
Hmm.
don't really know the prerequisites. Because you'll come across something new and you'll immediately Google it. So you'll remember that.
This will be the core coding team, right? So we'll be doing coding stuff. So yeah, you got to
There's a
enroll.
web development team also there, guys.
Yes, please,
There are two
please.
teams out here, not only coding.
Yes.
Actually, three.
Yes,
Graphic designing is also there. Don't.
yes, graphic design guys, please send us your portfolios.
We need to put a head on web dev team also to compete for Abhinav, I guess.
Yes.
I will stop recording, I guess.
Yeah.
If anyone has any other questions related to the open source,